The first meaningful monthly CPI data for the month of October will be released today. The change comes after economists complained the quarterly index left too large a gap between the data and the time of publication as inflationary pressures rise. Joining me now live is Peter Switzer, founder of the Switzer Report. Peter, good morning. Thank you for joining us. What can we expect when this data is released?
Well, last month we got the number of 7.3%, and the economists now think it's going to climb to 7.8%, Danica. Now, I should say the monthly number is not as respected as the quarterly number. It's a relatively new piece of data that we get to see, which I think is a step in the right direction, but it doesn't have any history. So economists aren't completely confident in, I guess, forecasting or guessing where inflation is going. Certainly when it comes to quarterly inflation, there's a lot more confidence there. And most economists think that the current number, which is 7.3%, could easily go into 8% in the December quarter, of which this month will be one of the months in that quarter. So inflation is heading up, and there's no expectation that quarterly inflation will start to fall until we get into the March quarter. And therefore, there's going to be pressure on interest rates until the Reserve Bank sees a notable fall in inflation, and that's probably going to be March. And I think it will really fall in the June quarter as more and more people convert from fixed home loans into variable, and their monthly repayments are going to be extraordinary compared to what they've been used to being on a fixed loan.
Yeah, and one to watch tomorrow is inflation data will drop in the US. How closely will Australia be looking at that?
Really important one, because see, the Fed looks at the CPI as most economies and central banks do. But the Americans like this particular one called the Core Personal Consumption Expenditure Price Index. It's a mouthful. They call it the PCE. And they think this is a more reliable indication of what's happening to US inflation. And Danica, if it's a good number, the stock market will really like it. If it's a bad number or a underwhelming number, the market could easily sell off. It's critically important for where stocks are heading over the next week or so.
Yeah, we'll be watching that one closely. And just finally, the US jobs report on Friday. Now, that could be a big market event.
Exactly. And it goes once again back to inflation. If the unemployment number rises significantly, great news for inflation. If the job creation, and they're expecting 200,000 jobs were created across the last month of recording, and if that's going to be the actual number, it's basically November. If it's 200,000 or more, that could make economists say, hang on, inflation is not coming down as fast as we think. Those big interest rate rises haven't worked as we expected, and the stock market won't like it. So two really big days of data coming out of the US Thursday and Friday.
A big week ahead. Peter Switzer, great to speak with you. Thanks for joining us.